Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 266 is officially out, and Yuji vs Sukuna continues inside Yuji's domain. This is a great chapter, let's get into it. So the chapter begins with Megumi speaking to Yuji, and he says, "Enough now." Megumi says he wished to create a world where Sumiki would not have to face unjust suffering. He says even if he fails, he still wants to sustain this vulnerable lifestyle. He says eating the meals that he prepared out of habit, watching the clothes dry in the sun, and seeing Sumiki walk alongside somebody like you, Itadori. In the setting sun, ah, what blissful moments. But Megumi says he's had enough now, but then we go into Yuji, and he says Grandpa's illness started with lung cancer, and he refused the treatment. Yuji says he's physically strong, and he says he wouldn't reject any treatment or anything like that. He could tough it out, but for somebody going through it, it must be tough for them. Yuji says once he joined Jujutsu High School and experienced bad things, and he thought about living on, he says he began to empathize and understand people who are going through the same things like Grandpa. And he's speaking to Megumi, and he says for that reason, I cannot tell you to continue living Fushiguro. Then we cut to the fight, and Sukuna makes the hand signs to create Hollow Wicker Basket. Since Sukuna is continuing his hand sign, Hollow Wicker Basket is not going to break, and the guaranteed hit factor of Yuji's domain will not hit Sukuna until the hand sign breaks. Then Sukuna and Yuji walk towards each other. Sukuna goes in for a kick, and Yuji goes in for a punch, and Yuji grabs Sukuna's leg and he hits him in the hip. But Yuji loses hold of Sukuna's leg, and Sukuna's got him right here. And Yuji falls to the ground, and Sukuna punches him in the face. And then Sukuna winds up another one and punches Yuji again. Yuji goes flying, and Sukuna falls right behind him, and he says, "Haha, I'm surprised." He says I'm surprised on how furious I get when I'm looked down upon, for treating me with some contemptuous pity. He says he's thrilled at the thought of making someone else other than Yuji make amends for this. And then we cut to young Megumi, and he's like, "Hey, what's that look?" And Yuji says it's nothing, it's just, it won't be as lively living without you, Fushiguro. Then out of nowhere, Megumi uses the 10 shadows techniques, and Sukuna steps in it, and he's tripped up. And Sukuna knows that this is Megumi, but then he gets punched in the face, and he goes flying, and Yuji just looks at him, and then he smiles, and then he rushes Sukuna. And he starts rushing Sukuna with some punches, and then he uses the dirt to get in Sukuna's face, and they both grab each other's faces. And they start beating the man, and I'm guessing that it's just like this over and over and over. But Yuji gets the last hit on Sukuna, and it's a good one. And Sukuna says that these are blows that cannot be healed by reverse curse technique, and he says Hollow Wicker Basket is falling apart, and then we see the lines, and he breaks Yuji's gauntlet arm, and he misses the punch. Yuji says, has Sukuna's curse technique been restored? It's Master Gojo's, resetting the burnt out curse technique, and Sukuna goes for a domain expansion. But we see Yuji's hand, and 2 fingers are missing. And then on the final page, we see this stairway, and we see Sukuna's fingers strung up. So it looks like the finger that Yuta supposedly ate is actually being strung up right here. For what reason, I don't know, but this is the ending of this chapter. This was a great chapter, guys. Some great dialogue between Yuji and Megumi, and I love seeing Yuji versus Sukuna. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think of this chapter. It was a great one. I'll be here next week.